So I've been asked the question multiple times, will the Xbox Series S last through the full cycle of the Series X? And I've had to answer it in multiple capacities. In fact, the last time I had to answer it, it was commented on a video that had to do with a Nintendo Switch controller. So clearly, people need to know, will the Series S be supported through the whole life cycle of the Series X? And the simple answer is, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't it be? But now that it's been out for a couple of years, that does come with a couple caveats. And let's talk about it. First things first, the storage capacity on this thing is, well, laughable. 512 is what it's advertised. What that really means is that this thing doesn't have a lot of space, and you can simply remedy that by buying yourself a hard drive, which I have done. 5 terabytes. That's a lot. That's a lot. This right here is 5 terabytes, but this is a spinning disk hard drive, which is substantially slower than internal storage. Okay, so let's go SSD, right? This little guy right here. Sure, SSD, a little bit more expensive, but still pretty dope. Okay, but that doesn't solve the problem of games that are optimized or next gen games, or I guess at this point it'd be called current gen games. Yeah, like Starfield, when it comes out, that game is going to require internal storage. And so the options you have are to manage the 364 gigs of internal usable storage, or get yourself a proprietary Seagate expansion card, which then makes this system cost as much as a Series X. And you go, well, why wouldn't I just buy a Series X? These are valid questions, extremely valid questions. Me personally, I chose to just manage it. And what I do is I download games onto my external hard drive, and then when I want to play them, I'll transfer them on and transfer them off. Downloading a game can take hours, but transferring can take minutes. So it's a little bit of a workaround. And yes, it does require me to do some management, but it works. So that is problem number one. Problem number two is the one that most people ask, which is this thing actually going to be able to run games? And the answer is, of course it's going to be able to run games. Of course it will. And my proof is real simple. Xbox One. The Xbox One and One S are still being supported, and the One X is even being supported, and that thing can arguably play games better than the Series S in some ways. And so when it comes to the Series S as a gaming console, why wouldn't it be supported, especially when it comes to older gens being supported? Even xCloud being able to stream current gen games on older models, or even on your web browser or phone browser. So yes, it'll be supported, but that comes with some pretty big trade-offs. At this point, we don't feel it as much. We don't feel the performance trade-offs that you would get later down the line, right? So this thing can't output native 4K for the most part. In some instances, it can, but for the most part, it's upscaling. Performance-wise, you're running at 60 frames per second, around 1080. Sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower, and you're good to go, which I think is a sweet spot, and for most people is going to be just okay. It looks great, and really, when it comes to frame rates, I think that frame rates are the most important thing. You want to get 60 at least, and if you can really lock in that 60, you're good to go. I mean, heck, I play Hogwarts Legacy on my PlayStation 5, and I've played it on the highest fidelity possible, and I'm getting 30 frames per second. For me, that's unacceptable. I want to play it at 60, so I have to sacrifice something like ray tracing or high fidelity mode. So this guy right here can do that performance mode. But here's the deal. As time goes on, I don't think that a game such as Starfield, for instance, or even Redfall is going to come out and it's going to be like, sorry, Series S folks, you guys are SK rude and you're not going to be able to actually play games on this. No, it's going to be more along the lines of, hey, well, in order for us to really get a good gaming experience on the Series S, you're going to have to sacrifice some of the visual fidelity. And yes, I feel like as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of that happening. I did a video, which you guys can watch. It'll be linked at the end, of me comparing the Series X to the Series S on an OLED TV, and you were to choose which one you thought was which. A lot of people actually got stuff wrong, but I think it was pretty fair to say that Plague Tale was really easy to find out which one was the Series S and Series X. Halo Infinite, a little bit harder. So that is really what you're going to be experiencing down the line when you start to think, well, is this going to be supported? The final thing I think that is really important to take into consideration when purchasing the Series S over the Series X is going to be that disk drive. And I know this is a conversation that we've had quite a bit, and some people are for it, some people are against it. I honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, think that unless you are someone who actually has a backlog of physical games, the disk drive is useless. Again, if you have backlogged games, Xbox One, Xbox games, you throw it into the Series X and it'll download a digital copy to your machine. If it's an optimized game, it's going to download that one. That's pretty freaking dope. But for the majority of us, myself, other people who are multi-console gamers, we don't have a plethora of games that we need the drive for. So I think when it comes to the disk drive itself, it's really not necessary. Now, you're gonna give me the argument, hey, I wanna own my games. I don't wanna borrow my games digitally. Dude, here's the deal. Honestly, games now aren't full games on these discs. You can't cram 190 gigs of a game onto a disc. It's just an authentication key to then download the digital game off of the store. This has been happening for a while. Yes, they're not really full games. And so when it comes to the hardware itself, specifically hard copies of games, you really don't necessarily need that disk drive. How does this work in the ecosystem of gaming? Well, I think that the Series S is becoming more of a specific use case. Whereas before I thought it was great for everybody, I think more and more as time goes on, it's great for a lot of people, but specific people. First and foremost, this is really good for people who are multi-console gamers. Me personally, I'm a multi-console gamer. The majority of my games I purchase that I really want to play at high fidelity, I play on PlayStation 5. There are very few Xbox exclusive games that I'm missing out on because I have a Series S. I think once Starfield drops, that's really going to be the only one where I'm like, oh man, maybe I want a Series X because I want to play it at the highest possible frame rates and the highest possible fidelity. But honestly, that's a conversation we have when we get to Starfield launch. Also, this is a really, really good console for anybody who wants to go portable. I personally have the UpSpec gaming monitor attached to this at most times, and that allows me to go to a buddy's house, bring my Series S, he has a Series X, we go ham, we have a good time, we have blast playing video games. So this ends up being a really cool complementary console if you want to go and play Xbox games portably and natively on an Xbox console, because Lord knows playing games on cloud sucks. Yes, playing it on your phone, playing it on the Logitech G Cloud, it's just not fun. So hardware is great. And lastly, this is a really, really good console for someone who dabbles in gaming, who's like, I just kind of want to play Game Pass games. Don't really care about anything else. I'm just here to play a couple hours here and there, just to kind of unwind, to experience a game that I haven't played before or experience a game of old. This is a really, really good console for that. But if you want more information on this guy and if you should buy it or not, I have this video right here, which is why you shouldn't buy it. And I have this video right here, which is, can you tell the difference between a Series S and a Series X? And most of all, this is the most important part. I'm the champ, and happy gaming.